Diving catch robs Pujols of extra bases, 2 down.
So 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, takes away probably 2 runs there defensively. That's 5 runs he's involved in. Matt Chapman.
Olsen skies one high and deep to right field toward the corner. Adele onto the track near the wall, leaps up and got it. Makes the catch for out number 3. Olsen. On he goes. Hit out towards center field. That's smoke. That is going to be into the bushes. A 2-run home run for McCutchen. And the Phillies take a 2-0 lead.
Here's another 3-2 going again as Soto hits one high in the air, right center field. Brinson near the wall, leaps, and he makes the catch! Lewis Brinson makes an unbelievable catch over the wall in center field.
Well, good evening and welcome into this latest edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. I'm your host, Kevin, and of course, we have a full house tonight. The guys that are bringing on the power, we have Howard and, of course, Vince bringing it on. So, Howard, how we doing tonight?
Good. How you doing?
We're doing outstanding. Vince, about yourself?
Doing great.
All right, so we're going to dive right in to the latest happenings of baseball. And those that were wondering how long it would take before the first pitcher was ejected because he was using foreign substances, well, the answer was less than a week. So, and if anybody was wondering if the first guy would be somebody like that's been rumored to be doing this, like Trevor Bauer or anybody else, that would be a no. It is a guy by the name of Hector Santiago, relief pitcher from the Seattle Mariners. So, have either of you ever heard of Hector Santiago before last Sunday?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Okay, so I don't feel left out because I had not heard of him either. He was not only ejected, now he's suspended. That ruling came down yesterday. And according to him, it was just sweat and rosin that they found. And I don't know if you guys saw that. They wrapped up his glove like they were going to send it off to the CSI Vegas, lab. So, Howard, what is your reaction to that?
I mean, I'm not shocked. I thought it would take a little bit longer than a week. I didn't think, but I think I think the way that they're handling it is not correct. They shouldn't be doing it for every reliever, every inning, starting pitcher, every start of the game. Spot check it, because what's going to happen is, a reliever is going to know I'm getting checked. Okay, he's not going to do it. If it's spot checking, just like a random drug test. Yeah, some people are still going to be able to do it. Some people aren't. What they should also do is if they should do the check before the pitcher comes in. Why are you going to do it after the fact, after he's already pitched? What does that do? I don't understand why they're going to do it after he pitches. Because, like,
Vince, we've talked about this at length, Vince. So what is your latest take on it?
Well, one quick comment. The only reason I can think of to do it afterwards is maybe they hide it somewhere when they come out on the field, but after they've used it for an inning, they can't hide it anymore. It's there. That's the only thing I can think of. But I'm not surprised it happened to a reliever that we didn't know. I'm not surprised it took this long. I live by the motto, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And when you got guys who are working hard to stay in the majors, they're not famous, they're not gonna be famous, and they're just trying to hold down a job and provide a nice life for their family. You know what? If you don't have the stuff without the rosin or without the other sticky substances, then you better use it while you can and do your best to earn as much income as you can, because it's not going to last very long. And so I don't blame him. I don't think it's crazy, that he did it. And at the same time, we're going to keep seeing it. It's going to keep happening. People are going to get caught, and we're going to move on with life. And, it's not going to be that big of a deal within a couple of weeks. Nobody's going to care about it anymore.
And the crazy thing is, he's suspended for 10 games, and he can't and they lose a roster spot.
Yep.
Yeah, 10 days.
He's fined.
It's 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. Which, if you're a relief pitcher, 10 days is a significant amount of time. If you're a starter, you might miss a start.
Yeah, maybe 2.
But he's already said that he was going to appeal.
Can they? I thought they couldn't appeal it.
So the way I understand it is, even if it was just rosin, it doesn't matter. It's against the rules because it was on his glove. And and they're going by, no matter what they find in the lab, it doesn't matter. They're going by what the umpire said, and the umpire says there's sticky stuff on the glove. He can appeal it if he wants to, I suppose, but it's not going to change it.
He's already appealed it. I'm not exactly sure what his defense could possibly be, but
it was an accident. It slipped. It was, I didn't put it on my glove. It fell out of my nose.
He was sweating, and then he got the rosin, and then he put it on his hand, and he put his hand in his glove, and so there you have it. So, so this is going to be, I think it's going to be ongoing throughout the season, and he's certainly not the first one this is going to happen to. Well, not the last. I mean, he is the first one, but not the last.
And it's going to be end of the rotation guys and middle relievers. That's where you're going to see it at the most.
And like I was telling you last week, Vince, I just don't understand why you just don't check the baseball.
Yeah.
If you got sticky stuff and you're putting it on the ball, it's going to be on the ball.
Well, but they're allowed to use sticky substances to a degree. It's just they can't have it certain places. It's so weird, the rules. Baseball's weird.
Yeah. It seems like they're doing everything they possibly can to shoot themselves in the foot. But one of the things that I had thought, because as we can remember, the first 7 weeks of the season, we had 6 no-hitters.
Yep. And there was another one last night almost.
Yep. And then all of a sudden the no-hitters went away. And I thought, well, maybe this is not a coincidence here, because now that they're not using the sticky stuff, maybe the no-hitters would go away. But there was one last week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first combined no-hitter in the history of the Chicago Cubs. It came against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because one of the things I'm just going to put out there, the last 2 times that the Dodgers were no-hit during the regular season, they went on to win the World Series. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I want to throw a caveat into that.
Okay, caveat. Go ahead.
Are they going to have Mr. Trevor Bauer for the rest of the year?
Well, that was something I was going to get into a little bit, because, as I'm sure we all know, that he is now under suspicion of some kind of assault. And so we'll see where that goes. It's interesting that he's under investigation for an assault, but not for putting sticky stuff on the ball.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you guys subscribe to The Athletic. but they put out an article, and I was reading it. My buddy, we were talking about it. If all of that is true, I don't know, Vince, did you read it?
I haven't read the article. No.
I have not either.
If you can somehow get a copy or you subscribe to it, I'm not going to go. The article is pretty graphic. It's definitely graphic, but if all that is true, Trevor Bauer is going to be worse off. I don't think he'll literally ever be able to play baseball again, ever.
Wow.
He might be heading towards the Marcell Osuna.
I think it's worse.
Land. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
It's based on what it's written in this article. He's going to have it worse than Osuna, in my opinion.
And the Athletic does good work. They don't put out, they don't just put out stuff. Yeah. They do a good job. So man, that's crazy. I wanted to defend the no hitter, not seeing a no hitter since the sticky substance stuff thing, real quick.
Yeah.
So one of the things about baseball is the longer the season goes on, the more video and analytics and things like that are out there for teams to study. They're doing so much work right now. They got so much staff that's doing the work. So the longer these pitchers pitch, the more they're getting figured out, the better the batters get. So in defense, just because they threw a no-hitter early in the season and not later in the season, it's not necessarily because they were cheating early in the season. Some of it could simply be that, they've had video to watch now. And because the guys that threw them early in the season aren't the greatest pitchers in the world.
None of them. None of the six. You wouldn't, they're not the ace of your staff. And that's kind of the way baseball history has been, down through the ages. So I just thought it was interesting. I was just going to, see how things were going to play out. No hitters for about a month, but all of a sudden, bam, we're back on a no-hitter wagon. So,
and for what it's worth, I don't accept the multiple pitchers no-hitter. I don't accept that as great or awesome. I look at it and go, it's nothing. It's just another game. Good game. Don't get me wrong. Good game. But for me, that's not a stat I care about.
The interesting thing about it is I don't think the Cubs have won a game since they did that no-hitter. So
how about them Brewers?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, Vince, I'm sure. So another subject we need to talk about, Vince, we talked about last week also, was the All-Star Game voting. We now have the finalists for all the positions. We've eliminated the guys that are hitting 210 or whatever else. We have the finalists, the leading vote getters, and that'll be tomorrow. You have until, I think it's like 2 p.m. Eastern time if you're going to put a vote in. So let's run down a little bit. Let's see. So you had the top 3 position players and the top 9 outfielders. We're not going to talk about all 9 outfielders. So, Howard, Harold, one of the things that we had talked about before, remember way back in the beginnings, we didn't know how the Astros were going to react to the new season. Well, it seems like they are reacting pretty well because they have the most finalists with 7. So they are pretty good to go. Seems like they put all of the scandals behind them. So let's start off with the DH, which you have Shohei Ohtani, number 1, Martinez, and then Alvarez, 3. I don't have a problem with any of those 3. Especially what, you talked about Ohtani only pitched 2/3 of an inning, but that has nothing to do with his hitting. He's been hitting the ball a ton. So he definitely deserves to get the nod at DH, even though Martinez should also be there.
Listen,
any disagreements with that?
This is baseball needs Shohei Ohtani. The Major League Baseball needs it for the fanfare and all that kind of stuff. And he is deserving. So, no issue with that.
Yep, no issues. Okay, so then we move on to the catcher. At the American League, you got Perez, then Maldonado, then Grandal. The only question I have is what in the world is Maldonado from Houston doing his number 2 position? He deserves to be nowhere near the All-Star game. I have no problem with Perez at number 1. Then in the National League, you got Posey, Molina, and then Contreras. Posey deserves to be there, as does Molina. And an interesting thing is you could have had both of those guys off the waiver wire earlier on in the season. So, any issues with that?
No, Perez is the clear guy in the AL. There's not a whole lot of catchers playing great ball in the AL right now. National League, Posey, Molina's fine, I suppose, but I wouldn't have him second.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Sanchez, even though he didn't start great, that he wasn't even in the top.
No, he got buried under because he was hitting like 189 there for a while, so or whatever it was. Just about every other player in the major leagues was hitting 189. Seems like for a long time, but the way he's playing right now, Sanchez is the catcher to watch in the second half. I'm getting ahead of myself. Over at first base, you got Guerrero, then Gurriel, then Abreu. Nobody can possibly have a problem with Guerrero at the first position. He's been leading in the Triple Crown categories pretty much the whole season. He's first and slugging and every other category. You know, he's a solid player at first. In the National League, we kind of have some issues with the first baseman in the National because none of them are playing very well. You got Muncy, then Freeman, then Rizzo. So I wouldn't attach my wagon to any of those guys. I wouldn't think so.
No.
Especially in fantasy. Any comments on that on the National League?
I've got Freeman ahead of Muncy personally, but I'm not going to complain about it.
No.
Okay, so moving on to the yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't have any complaints with the National League. The one thing I do say is that that there's no real surprises to me.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Yeah, the surprises are coming in a little while because we talked about that last week a little bit.
I don't know if it's, and I've been thinking about this for a few years. It's like once you're kind of a name, and I don't know if it's because we're spoiled and there's all these media outlets these days, but it's like once like a few years ago, did you know who Max Muncy was before he was in the he was in the All-Star game or he was coming up?
He's one of those guys that the Dodgers got off the scrap heap. Literally.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like once you become a name, you're more likely to be in the All-Star game right off the bat.
So if I had Muncy on my fantasy team, I'd be tickled pink, but I do not. So second base, you got Marcus Semien, then Altuve, then LeMahieu. Altuve to me is the clear winner there, and even though I got Semien on my fantasy team, and
they're both having Simeon's having a good year. I think
he's having a great season.
I think he was like 18 homers. I think. Yeah. So when are final votes in tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern is the final day to vote for the starter.
Because I think the announcement's tomorrow night at 9.
That may be. I
saw something on ESPN before.
That, but yeah, at 2:00 tomorrow is when you can put the last vote in.
I think it's going to be close. I think, and I think a lot of the Astros are getting voted because they're trying to prove, the fans are, we didn't cheat. That's because they're making. Remember, we didn't have All-Star game last year, so this
is to help them by winning. What was it, 11 straight?
Yeah,
now whatever. Even though somehow or another the Orioles have won the first 2 games of the series, one of the worst teams in baseball, went in Houston. They won the first 2 games. Yeah. So
I think that if the I think LeMahieu's been playing great the last week and looks like he's finally turning that corner. I think he might be close, but I think based on that, I think Altuve might just edge him out.
Over in the National League, you got Albies, followed by Frazier, and then Lux. Lux does not have any reason for being there, so we're not going to discuss him, even though I'm a Dodger. But no. And Albies is hitting 253, so he does not deserve to be in the All-Star starter. So I'm going to go with my man, Adam Frazier, hitting 326. I said last week he wasn't a 324 hitter. He's proven me wrong because he's raised his average to 326. So he, to me, is the clear winner, should be, even though he's a Pirate and, nobody west of the Hudson has heard of him. So
batting average is not the biggest key to being an all-star. No. And Adam Frazier is having a fine season.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't want to
also,
bust
like,
on
in
him.
the first three and hit. So he's, you know,
Yeah. Ozzie Albies is the best second baseman in the National League. I still think he's number one. I think Frazier, he's fine. I'm all for him being in the All-Star game, but
So Vince, before we go any further, because I talked about him, remember last week, as one of the
yes.
players that I saw was going to maybe fall in the second half. So we'll see about that one. But we also talked about Pete Alonso, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I got this trade request: Pete Alonso for Adam Frazier. Would you pull the trigger on that deal?
No.
Okay, because I did not. I'm just throwing it out there because that was, you know, players suggested that to me, one of the guys in my, you know, in my league, and I just said no, because not only does he play second, he's qualified in the outfield. And
hold on,
Alonso
you have Frazier?
I have Frazier on my team.
I'll send that in a second.
I would take it. I think Alonso's going to have a big second half.
Yeah, we talked about him last week. So as a guy that could, but to me, because I value players that have versatility.
Yeah,
he does have that. I'm talking about Frazier. So I was a little hesitant about that, but I said no. So
yeah,
I just thought I'd throw that out there. So you guys would have said yes.
I
would have said yes
last week too. Actually, I got multiple. This one guy in my league sent me like 4. So he wanted me to trade him, Mr. Max Scherzer, and I believe it was a 27th rounder for Jonathan India and like a 13th rounder. And I'm like, oh, like
that's when you just turn off the computer when you see something like that.
And I'm like, Scherzer is still like a top 7, top 6 round pick.
Yeah.
So that's in the back of trade. I said India in a 7th rounder for Scherzer in the 27th. He comes back with India in the 9th, and I go no, and then I go India in the 6th.
No,
nothing back.
Okay, well, he doesn't deserve a response back, to be quite honest with you. All right, so moving on. Third base, American League, you got Devers at first. Then you got Bregman, who's hurt and won't be there. And then you got Moncada, who is not having the kind of season that a lot of people expected. And he sat yesterday because his shoulder was, quote, unquote, barking. He's in the starting lineup today. But Devers is the clear winner there to me. Yeah. All right, so in the National League, you got Bryant, then Arenado, then Turner. All these players have been around for 500 years, it seems like. So there's no new talent in the National League, pretty much in anything that we've talked about so far. And then you switch over to shortstop Bogart, Bichette, then Correa. Bichette should not be in the conversation. To me, it's Correa or Bogarts. You can make an argument for either one of those players.
Yeah.
And then in the National League, it's clear you got Tatis. He's the winner. And then Baez, for some reason, who's hitting 226, is second. Then Crawford up in San Francisco. That guy deserves to be in the All-Star game.
He's having a good year.
He's having a fabulous season so far. But there's no way Tatis, he's the winner easily right there. Then we switch to the outfield, and this is where I really struggled to figure out what in the world the voters are doing. You got Trout, who's been hurt for, 5 weeks now?
Yep.
And then you got Judge. Okay. Then Buxton, number 3. Now, I need someone to explain to me what in the world is Buxton doing in that spot. He's been hurt.
Names. It's just, and that's what I'm saying. It's just they're drawing out names.
That's my point, though. He plays in Minnesota. Who in the world is talking about Buxton? I never did.
Because he had a monsters April, and now he's hurt again. He
hurt. Well, it wasn't his fault. He got hit by a pitch.
Right, but he did something with his leg. He came back, and 4 days later he breaks his wrist. But Brian Buxton, and I don't know if Vince, I think you might know, is the most injury-prone player I think I've ever seen. Every year he's hurt for at least I'm gonna look this up because now I'm
Yeah,
curious.
because I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand. How is he number 3? How?
Yeah, I look at the list of outfielders in the American League, and I'm sitting there going, I'm not excited about any of these
I'm not
guys.
excited because Brantley is number 4. Then you got
Mhm.
Garcia, who is an exciting young player, and then you got Hernandez. Then Mullins. Mullins deserves to be in the All-Star game. I'll just throw that
Sure.
out there.
Yeah.
As he last I looked, he was leading the league in hit.
Yeah.
For the American League. So
Here is Brian Buxton's year by year since he came into the league in 2015. 46 games, 92 games, 140, 28, 87, 39, 27.
that's what
My
I'm
goodness.
saying. How in the world does that guy get any traction? I don't
He's
get
been
it
in the
at
league.
all.
He's been in the league for 7 years. He's played
Steals bases.
He's played a total of 459 games in 7 years, and he's got 67 total bases in his whole career.
So
Yeah, he's got a
All right.
personality. That's what gets him the votes.
So
Is he-
the American League is pretty solid overall, but when you get to this outfield, I don't get it at all. Then you switch to the National League, you got Acuna, then you got Castellanos and Winker. You know, Vince, we talked about those two guys, and I still think they deserve to be there.
Yep.
So they're in the top 3 in hitting, and Vince has been doing that for like the last couple of weeks.
Don't give me
But,
2 Cincinnati Reds outfielders. Don't do it. They can be in the All-Star game.
Okay.
Cool.
But
Castellanos start.
But Vince,
Go ahead.
This is the problem, though. 'Cause behind them, you got Betts, who's hitting
Yeah.
240, all right? So he doesn't deserve to be there. Then you got Taylor from the Dodgers. He don't deserve to be there. Soto, and believe me when I say the season
No,
he's
Soto,
had until
yeah.
now, he does not deserve to be there.
Yeah.
And then Harper, he does not deserve to be there.
No.
None
No,
of
he
those
doesn't.
guys, except for Acuna, you can make a solid argument about. So as long as Castellanos and Winker are hitting, they're going to be there. That's their calling card. So, and they got no competition behind them.
Yeah,
So-
I was looking up some stats real quick. I mean, yeah, I get it. You know, it is what it is. Whatever. Who cares? I'm probably not even going to watch the All-Star game. So at the end of the day,
Okay, so that's
Whatever.
an argument we can have another day.
What about the celebrity softball game? Come on.
I don't care about no celebrities.
I was younger. That was
Maybe
only
the
thing I used
futures
to
game
watch.
might be something to look into. But
Kevin Wilson's the only celebrity I care about.
there we go. All right, so let's talk about some second half predictions. We talked a little bit about that last week, Vince, but one of the things that I'm going to put out there is the Mets and the Nationals. The Mets are in first place. The Nationals are just lighting the baseball up right now, and they've won 8 out of their last 10. They're staring down the Mets. The Mets are gonna have a problem if the Nationals, because like I said, they're doing this without Soto, really up till now. If he gets hot, I see the Nationals really giving the Mets a problem.
You're forgetting one thing.
What's that?
Tomorrow is Bobby Bonilla Day.
All right. So, and he's gonna get his 1.5 million till
1.4
2037 or something like that.
1.4, but apparently the Mets tweeted out a GIF of Bobby Bonilla and said they have a huge announcement tomorrow. So
Oh.
is that their play on like, hey, we paid Bobby Bonilla, or is it like something like, hey, we actually have money now from Steve Cohen, we're just gonna pay him the rest of his contract and that's it? I mean, the Mets can go that either way. Or the Mets' Twitter is phenomenal. I will say that their Twitter is pretty good.
You know what's
speaking
not
of-
good though is
What's
their
that?
offense.
Yeah.
They've got no offense, and unless it picks up, and it could because they
Yeah.
got the talent,
They
but
do.
they
Yeah,
will not win
Alonso's
the
one of
division.
them. Lindor's one of them.
Yeah, they will
Those
not win the
guys are
division.
gonna have to pick it up, or otherwise
Yeah.
they're gonna get passed.
They
Yes.
need like 30 Jacob deGroms in that lineup because he's hitting what, like 350 already or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about that last week too. Vince, your Brewers.
Yeah.
talked about, I don't know if you saw this earlier today. They spotted the Cubs a touchdown, and then they came back and scored 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, and they beat them 15-7.
Man,
So-
7 this afternoon. Cubs scored 7 in the first inning. Brewers scored, I think, 5 in the second and 8 in the fourth. and they just kept adding up. And the Brewers went in. They were having a bullpen game. They did not have a traditional starter, and so they were just using all bullpen today. And Guy made his debut and gave up 7 runs in the first inning. But the Cubs pitching wasn't much better. And, the Brewers, man, they've been scoring like crazy as of late.
So that put the Cubs 6 games back in the division now. So I think Milwaukee's, the Central is going to turn back to what we thought maybe at the beginning of the season, where it's not a very good division. So I see Milwaukee and your man, Mr. Yelich. Okay, he's had hits in 9 of his last 12. His on-base percentage, you talk about how hitting, batting average don't mean much, which I certainly agree with.
I'm not saying it doesn't mean much.
On-base percentage is .411.
Yeah.
And he really hasn't put it together, so that tells me there's something big getting ready to happen with Mr. Yelich.
Good, maybe they trade him.
No.
Yes.
They won't.
My team.
No, they're not trading.
No, my team. In fantasy.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things about the White Sox, the fellow Chicago team, they've had some injuries. Cleveland's had some injuries as well, especially in their pitching staff. So that's going to be an interesting race. We have to keep our eyes on Moncada because he has not had this kind of season we thought he might have. And the shoulder, we'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that does. But that's going to be an interesting division. Houston, Oakland, even though Houston had won 11 straight, but it's kind of funny. Baseball is funny because there you have the blazing hot Houston Astros, and they played Detroit and Baltimore, 2 of the worst teams in the league, and they've lost 3 games to them.
Yeah.
So
breaking news just now: Dellin Betances is undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery.
Who's that?
Betances for the Mets. He's thrown 1 inning last year, and I think he threw like 3 innings last year. Man, his career ever since he left the Yankees has gone. Woo.
So, are there any players that you're looking at that could put it together in the second half?
Gleyber Torres.
No, I don't want to talk about him because I already dropped him.
No,
dropped him like a bad habit.
No, I think
he was terrible. Terrible.
I think a couple players just looking at. I definitely think, obviously besides the Yankees, I definitely think possibly maybe Josh Bell. I mean, he's been slumping a little bit of the whole year. Especially
he looked pretty good today when I saw him hitting earlier today. So he could be one of those guys.
I mean, I think it's going to be. I think he's up there. I'm thinking maybe Jameson Taillon. He's finally kind of pitching back, possibly. I think the Mets. I think possibly even Lindor. He's got a half year under his belt in New York and live up to the pressure. See what it's all about. But I'm still, and I've said this a few times, I think all these low averages, low RBIs, minus Ohtani or whatever, is due to this baseball changing. And I think it's hurting the game.
I think when you're looking at second half guys that are going to come out and perform well, I think you got to go to the big names. Look at guys like Bryce Harper, Christian Yelich, Mookie Betts, Alonso, those kind of guys. They're too good to be this bad.
Yep.
And so they're going to eventually turn things around. Yelich has looked completely different at the plate here recently, even though his numbers don't show everything. He's looking like he's getting his groove back, so to say. So I expect those guys to heat up in the second half and turn things around a bit.
The only player that I would be a little cautious about would be Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Because his hype has definitely outlived his production. To put it, just put it out there, because he's had some season where he's been,
if you remember,
player, but then too many other seasons he's been a regular Joe.
If you remember him being a high school kid on the cover of Sports Illustrated, he has not lived up to that.
No,
he's not been bad. He's not been horrible.
If you remember when they first came in, you had Mike Trout, and then you had Bryce Harper, and they were wanting to compare those two guys in the worst possible way. But Mike Trout has blown the doors completely off Bryce
Put
Harper.
Trout on the Phillies. The Phillies are a different
and that
team.
was one of the things that they, because Trout's from Philadelphia area,
Yeah.
and they thought that might happen, but then the Angels signed him to 30-year deal or whatever it was. So
A lot of money.
yeah, he's not going.
Wasn't it like 13 years, 450 million
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that too much. So, all right. So we're going to turn over to the fantasy first half. Who would you guys put out there as being the MVP of fantasy baseball? It may not be the same as on the baseball field, but in fantasy, who is your MVP so far?
I think you got to go Ohtani.
You do, to me.
I think you have to. I mean, just looking at what the dude's doing.
So
I can't think of anyone else.
I can't argue with it too much, but I'd still go Vlad Guerrero. To me, he's been just too good. Ohtani's been good, very good, and having a great season. So I put down, for each of these categories, I put down 3 candidates. So for MVP, I've got Vlad Guerrero, Fernando Tatis, and Shohei Ohtani. But for me, it's Vlad. I think he's the MVP to this point.
Did you
Fantasy.
see that crazy stat with Vlad? Apparently, I saw something on Twitter today. Apparently, through 75 games or first 100 games of their him and his dad's careers, they have the same amount of homers.
Or virtually identical, yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
see that.
something. They're they're within a few homers, and it's amazing.
And the reason why I put Ohtani, especially if you're in one of those leagues where he takes up just one roster spot, and I don't understand how you have to have a guy, he's a pitcher in one spot, and you have to have a hitter, so he takes up 2 roster spots.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
That's how Yahoo does it.
Yahoo
But
they do that.
Yeah, he gets drafted separately.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But but if you're in one of those other
Well, hold on, Kevin. Let's give a little credit to Yahoo. If Brandon Woodruff hits a home run, I don't get any points for that.
Exactly.
So
right, but if you remember, if Ohtani hits a home run and he's the pitcher, he gets no points for that either.
right, that's what I'm saying. That's that way it should be. Because
He only takes
getting
up
my
one
pitcher,
roster spot. That's what I'm saying.
well, when he takes up 2 roster spots, though, you don't get the points for the pitcher when you have him as the batter. Same is true with any other pitcher. I don't get any points for DeGrom getting an RBI, but
that's the same way if you're in an ESPN league and you got him down as a pitcher and not as a hitter, then you get nothing.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
And you can't put him as a pitcher and a hitter all at the same time. So, which I get that. But when you look at, he's got 423 fantasy points. Less now because he got rocked by the Yankees earlier today. But the next one is Guerrero, which he's having a great season. He only has 314 fantasy points. So Ohtani's 100 points ahead of him. So in fantasy, he takes the cake for me. But he's pitching, hitting, all of that is a combined package. He's the MVP to me in fantasy.
Yeah, I won't argue with you. You're wrong, but I won't argue with you.
Okay, I appreciate that. And these people, I'll just say that these people are trying to argue for him to win the MVP of actual baseball. It's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen because the Angels are nowhere near playoffs.
Right.
Nowhere near. All right, so the offensive player of the year, if you say anything other than Guerrero, you're wrong.
Ohtani.
No, because Guerrero at the plate beat Ohtani.
No, it's definitely Vlad. He's got what, 26 homers?
He's hitting 344 with 26 homers and 66 RBIs. His on base percentage is 446.
I didn't realize he's hitting almost 350. Holy moly!
Yeah,
wow.
he's been doing it all season.
You can't ignore what Tatis is doing in San Diego. Incredible.
I'd put him on the list as a Acuna because he has 16 stolen bases. But when you're talking about offensive players, it's Guerrero.
Vlad's the guy. Yeah.
All right. So pitcher, we could talk about 3 different pitchers, but there's really no need to me because that pitcher is Jacob deGrom in every way, shape, or form.
Nah, he's okay.
Okay. He has an 0.69 ERA. His WHIP is 0.53.
Do you know what the odds are of him winning the Cy Young is at -200? Like, there's no way he's not getting it.
No. He could sit down in a chair and sit there for the rest of the year. He's the Cy Young award winner.
Oh, absolutely.
No question.
To give some recognition, I put down 3 in every category.
I did too.
So I've got DeGrom as the winner. Trevor Bauer and Zach Wheeler are the other 2 that I've got down. Wheeler's been really impressive this year, but nobody's been better than DeGrom.
Yep. The 3 I put down were DeGrom, and then Cole, and then Kevin Gossman. Of the
Garrett Cole. I don't see Cole getting the Cy Young.
Well, no, I'm talking about in fantasy.
No,
he's 8-4, 2.66 ERA, 0.90 WHIP. So
before
if you got Garrett Cole, you're happy.
Well, I have Garrett Cole. Before Spider Tack, I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
After Spider Tack, I'm still happy, but not as ecstatic as I was.
High-fiving people up and down,
Right.
Yeah, the avenue. So, and then Kevin Gossman, even though he lost to the Dodgers yesterday and he walked 5 in 5 innings, I don't know. That's probably more than he's walked in his previous 5 starts combined. But he's still 8-2 with the 1.68 ERA.
What's Lance Lynn like? Ever since I traded him, I haven't looked. Lance Lynn is having a great year too.
Well, maybe, but not great enough.
No. So, and then we could move on to the fantasy rookie. I wrote this one guy down.
Oh, I know who you're
Garcia.
picking. Yeah, you're Rangers. Yeah.
Well, not just because he's a Ranger, but he's also on my fantasy team. So, but he's hitting 274, 20, 55. No other rookie comes anywhere near that.
But he's still not the first half rookie of the year in fantasy baseball. Do you know why?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Trevor Rogers of the Miami Marlins.
Man.
92.1 innings, 110 Ks, 9 quality starts, 7 wins, 2.24 ERA. He gets my rookie of the first half fantasy of the first half of the year in my book. Yerman Mercedes has to be mentioned, even though he's been not good recently.
Right.
You can't ignore what he's done. But I've got Trevor Rogers 1, Garcia 2, Mercedes 3.
Okay. Yeah, because you can make – who else in the National League is the MVP besides Rogers? No one. No one comes close.
No.
So, all right. So, let's talk about some ads. And
1 second before we go to the ads. Sorry.
Okay.
I added one category. Comeback player of the year, first half.
That's one guy and one guy only.
Mr. Trey Mancini.
And that's it.
Oh, hold on. Okay. Yes, I get it. I understand the storyline. Real life, sure. Fantasy baseball, though, you can't ignore a couple of people.
Okay.
Rafael Devers, way better this year than he was last year. Aaron Judge, way better this year than he was last year. And, might be a cheater, Jose Altuve, drastically better this year than he was last year.
And he's drastically better because if you remember at the beginning of the season, he was the center of the COVID, Houston problem. But he has put all of that behind him, and he has been. If you have him, you are ecstatic.
Yeah, I think those three guys have been better fantasy-wise than Mancini. Not a better story, obviously. Real life, Mancini's comeback player of the year. Fantasy stat-wise, though, to me, Devers is the guy. His improvement from last year is incredible. Altuve, because he's a cheater, we got to knock him a little bit, but he has definitely come back this year.
Nothing to do with fantasy, so I would I'd certainly agree with you.
And Aaron Judge. I drafted Aaron Judge in the 4th round this year and got laughed at, and then everybody's trying to trade me for him right now. So he's doing well.
Yeah, can't argue with any of those. So ads, Vince, you mentioned them just a minute ago. Yerman Mercedes, we talked about him last week. Could he turn it around? But he had 3 hits over the weekend, so that could portray. He's still on the fantasy wire, and I wouldn't pick him up just yet. But he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on, to me. We also talked about him last week. One guy for me is Steven Dugar of San Francisco. He's hitting 316. So, and he's only owned 26% of the week of of leagues, and check out this on-base percentage in his last 7 games. It's .488.
Nice.
He's putting the bat on the ball. So one last guy, and this guy, I don't understand why there's such a hesitancy of people to pick him up, and that's Tarek Schoolball of the Detroit Tigers.
Because he's on the Tigers.
That's why.
Okay, I get that, and I also get that he lost his first 6 decisions of the season.
Yeah,
but he's won 4 games. He's been great, and if you remember, he pitched against Houston. He gave up 1 hit. You shut down Houston's lineup and give him what, 1 hit? He's only owned in 38% of leagues. That's got to be well higher than 50% to me. So that's my 3. So take it away.
I've got 2 guys. We'll start with the pitcher, Caleb Smith for Arizona. In the last 2 weeks, he's got a 1.59 ERA. He's pitched 17 innings with 19 strikeouts. He's only owned by, I think, 23% of teams, so he's available in most leagues. And he's a guy to put on your roster now. He might not be there the rest of the year, but while he's doing well, get him on there. And then my second one is Keston. You can be my hero, baby. Keston Hiura, man, he went down to Triple H twice. They brought him back because of an injury, and he's been crushing. .316 batting average, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs in the last week. And Keston Hiura, maybe he is the player we thought he would be. I had a guy pick him up and try to trade him to me. I said he stinks. So he dropped them, and then I picked them up, and it's worked out great for me.
That's the way to do it. So since you mentioned the Brewers, just one guy I'll throw out there that I added to my team is Urias.
Yeah.
Talk about a guy who's putting the bat on the ball. He's another one, and he plays everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm quite pleased that I picked him up. So, Howard, what do we have?
I haven't been able to pick anybody up because, Vince, you want to say why?
You've been busy.
Well, no, because half my team is still hurt.
Oh, they're all on the injured list.
Same like always, so I can't do anything. The whole team is hurt, and I am down to 10th place.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's been a bad year.
We were talking earlier last week about players that you could, put on your IL list. Who has any room on their IL to put anybody?
Me, not a chance. They're sitting on my bench.
Yeah. Most players, most managers don't have anywhere to put an injured player right now. All right, so drops. One guy I'm just going to put it out there. I already dropped him. And that's Kenta Maeda, Minnesota Twins. And he gave up
half a season.
7 earned runs. All right. He has a .572 ERA. He gave me negative 14 fantasy points yesterday.
Oof.
Negative
Ouch.
1-4. I drafted him. I dropped him. He came back. I picked him up. He made a couple decent starts. So he's off my team now. If somebody else picks him up and he turns into an all-star in the second half, yay for you. It's not going to be me. So any players, Howard, that you would drop if you could?
If I could on my team right now, I have here on a bunch of teams. I seen him up and down. I did pick up Mr. Votto because I had an open spot, and I was playing the good old Joey Votto name, and I saw he started stinking.
That's been fool's gold most of the season.
Yeah. Pitchers, my pitching staff is solid, honestly. It is so bad. My team is very solid because no one is hitting, and they're hurt. But now, my team right now is pretty solid. Everyone's hurt. Scherzer's hurt. So Moustakas is hurt.
He's on my IL too. So
Kettle Marte just went back on the IL. So that's going to probably hurt his trade stock. I know he's been rumored to be traded, so that's going to hurt his stock a little bit, I bet.
So, Vince, what do you have for drop candidates?
Anybody on the Colorado Rockies? Go ahead and get
Especially
rid
when
of
they
them.
hit the road. I mean, you talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a team, even the Rockies in their history, have not been as putrid as they are on the road this season.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
been-
wasn't the Diamondbacks had like an 11-game road losing streak after they Bumgarner the no-hitter or something?
I believe you're right. Yeah. Yeah. The Rockies, though, they've just been bad. I mean, if you've got Story, you can try to trade him, or you can hold out hope that he'll get traded to a good team and
I don't
everything
know, 'cause
changes
then you
for
hear
him.
about he's going to be trying to hit home runs in the All-Star game. So
Oh, and I wanted to
that's
bring that up.
not a good sign to me, because you start swinging for the long ball, then you go in the second half and slump.
Well, that's what I
What
wanted
else
to
is he
bring up.
supposed to do?
Well, is that going to hurt Ohtani? Because Ohtani's going to be in the home run derby, and they always say once you're in the home run derby, your approach changes. And then
Ohtani's better off because he comes from a different background. Honestly, I think that's going to help him out. The American kid that grows up and just wants to hit the ball deep, nowadays they're learning at the youngest of ages, how to swing the ball or swing the bat to get the ball up. Ohtani's just different. Everything's different about him. I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah,
Kevin, other guys I would drop, though, Eugenio Suarez, hit the road, Jack.
Yeah, it's time to hit.
Yeah.
I had high hopes for him, but those hopes have been dashed. You didn't see the lighthouse and you crashed into it. So
Yeah, he's still owned by 88% of
I'm not going.
people.
Nothing more said about Eugenio Suarez.
And then if you got him, get rid of him, Max Kepler as well. He's the other guy that I've got that he's I think 60-some% of people, but I think it's time to let him go.
Yep, I agree with all that. So the last subject we need to talk about is what is you kind of talked about this already, Howard. Your team is hurt, but it was I had an interesting week in my league. Vince, we talked about last week. My 9-2 team went up against the other 9-2 team in my division, first place on the line, and I took him down. So I'm quite happy with that. Now I have a 1-game lead on him. I've beaten him twice head-to-head, and I haven't beaten points. So it's like I have like a 2-game lead on him. So I'm fabulously happy with how my fantasy team's doing. So anything to add?
Man, so I'm in this 12-man league. I'm currently sitting at 10th in the league, and the bottom 3 get kicked out of the league at the end of the year. So I got to be above that point. I feel like I've got a good roster. They just need to come together kind of and all play well. And I got some young guys or some kind of those sleeper guys up right now. Keston Hiura's one. Tony Kemp is another one, and he's been playing really well. I've had Montcastle for a while. He's been playing decent. But my guys like Dylan Carlson, Austin Riley, they're up and down. They're not doing enough for me. I traded for Brandon Lau, and he's actually been playing okay since I traded for him. So that's worked out okay for me. And then my pitching staff.
You could have came to me, and I would have traded you to Lau.
Yeah. I traded Charlie Blackmon for him. So, and Blackman's been bad.
Yeah, that's 10 dozen of the other right there. So at least Lau plays more than one position. So I'd give you that.
So I'm getting a little bit better, right? I'm winning this week so far. Doing pretty decent, and hopefully it just stays that way. I got 2 other leagues. One league I'm doing okay in, the other one I'm kind of not doing great in either. So I'm paying more attention to my guys and seeing, okay, these guys aren't performing. Jazz Chisholm, for instance, I got rid of him in a league that I was holding on to him, but it just hasn't been good enough. So there's guys available that were decent. I go out and get them, and hopefully I made the right move.
So, Howard, anything you want to say about your teams other than that? They're on the operating table.
I'm trading them all. They're all fired.
They're all fired. Okay. All right. So that pretty much wraps up what we had to talk about baseball. So, Howard, let us know where we can find you out there.
Sure. You can find me at NY Sports Guy 13. I'm often tweeting about the Yankees, retweeting random stuff around sports, technology news, and that's pretty much it.
All right, Vince, how about yourself?
Find me on Twitter at Sports Stove or on Instagram, the Sports Stove Pod. You can get the podcast anywhere you get your podcast live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. on YouTube. And then after they are live, we put them out for the podcast everywhere else as well. And so my dad joins me for most episodes. We have a great time talking sports, and excited about the next one coming out tomorrow night.
All right, because I saw the sports stove up close and personal last week, and I can say for sure that is some quality TV.
Thank you.
Do we say that TV? Is that
Sure.
Okay, TV
Streaming? I don't know.
Streaming, it's out there, so you definitely owe it to yourself to check out Vince, and that's quality stuff, and there are quality stuff up and all the way down the belly up lineup, and of course,
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, you're quite welcome, and you can always find me at Kevin62 WILSEA, and as we talked last week, Vince, SEA stands for Seattle Seahawks, so. So you can find me there, and you can always Monday mornings get out there, get on Twitter, get on Facebook, get on Reddit. It really doesn't any one of those places you can find my story. I write a story every week about the players that pick up off the waiver wire, and unfortunately the Wilson curse hit big time this past week because I recommended picking up Matt Manning, and you saw what happened to him, right?
Yeah, I picked him up. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome for that. Because he got lit up like few pitchers I've seen. Maybe Ohtani today might equal out because he got just lit up. So you can consider that recommendation. Just it's in the closet. So I'm sorry I even talked about Matt Manning. So, but otherwise you can find me out there. Like I said, I'm more than willing to talk about any subject. Fantasy baseball especially, so get with me on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can find me, and I'd be more than happy to talk about anything.
And Kev, your articles are on bellyupfantasysports.com, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. We don't want to push everybody to we got to make sure we send a little bit of traffic to Belly Up.
Right, we sure do. And if you want to go to the main site, you please be my guest, because there are some quality stuff going on over there, quite a bit of it, as a matter of fact. But I'm on the fantasy side, so switch over there, check me out, and that's all I pretty much have to say. So, anything you guys want to add, Howard?
Nope, I'm all good over here.
All good. I'm all good. Vince, you all good?
Yeah, go Brewers. Yeah, we're good.
All right, go Dodgers. They took down the Giants. I'm all happy with that. Maybe your dad's not too pleased, but I'm quite happy. So. That's pretty much what we have for this week, and we'll catch you on the flip side.